In the vast expanse of China, a staggering 65 million vacant homes stand silently, enough to house the entirety of France's population. But here's the fascinating twist. Unlike many nations where the dream of owning a first home ignites ambition, in China, minds are already awash with thoughts of securing their second or even third home. The allure of additional residences beckons with an irresistible charm, and China holds the crown for one of the world's highest percentages of second and third home ownership. Dive into the urban landscape and you'll find that a whopping 96% of households possess at least one dwelling, while an astonishing 20% proudly flaunt two. Homeownership in this enchanting land is synonymous with retirement security. China is undeniably a nation of homeowners. Here, second homes comprise a remarkable 44% of all real estate transactions. And third homes? They're not just havens, they're lucrative investments, commanding a 25% slice of the real estate pie. Yet, as the saying goes, not all that glitters is gold. Amidst China's soaring homeownership rates lies a startling truth. Real estate prices are plummeting, leaving a void where once dreams thrived. The situation takes a darker turn as Country Garden, the largest real estate developer in China, with over 3,000 properties across the country, is having trouble making payments and is on the verge of defaulting. Now, the tides are shifting, and the tale of China's property market is a mesmerizing saga of highs and lows. If China's real estate market crashes, it will be catastrophic for the country's economy, because real estate accounts for around 30% of the country's GDP. So what is the Chinese government doing to prevent a full-blown real estate crisis? Before we dive deeper, do us a favor and hit that subscribe button. And don't forget to ring that notification bell, so you never miss out on any of our videos. Now, let's move on. In 1978, China was regarded as one of the world's poorest countries that could barely feed its citizens. China's real per capita GDP was just 1/4 that of the United States and 1/10 that of Brazil, and it relied greatly on technology from the Soviet Union for its survival. However, China's relationship with the Soviet Union didn't last long, as it began to fall apart in the 1960s, causing armed border clashes. When China embraced capitalism and enacted an open-door policy that permitted international companies to establish operations in China, things saw a significant turn for the better. As a result, China's economy grew quickly, surpassing the $1 trillion threshold in 1998 and reaching $18 trillion in 2022. The fact that China was able to resuscitate its economy in 40 years, as opposed to the United States, which took 200 years, makes China's recovery one of the biggest economic miracles in history. There was a tremendous expansion and more autonomy with China's economic miracle. Despite being beneficial to China, this expansion also brought about several issues that put the nation's survival in jeopardy. As China's economy expanded quickly, so did its purchasing power. People's spending increased quickly as a result of having more money to spend and being able to buy whatever they wanted, which also caused a quick rise in the cost of goods. This rapid spur in prices made cities like Hong Kong, Shanghai, and Beijing reach the top of the lists as some of the most expensive cities in the world, leading to a boom in China's real estate. Chinese citizens evolved from being first-time homeowners to even third-time homeowners as they invested more of their growing income in real estate and other investments. So much so that the number of third homeowners was nearly equal to the number of first homeowners. As expected, the prices of houses and rent soared as well, and the demand for these houses wasn't as much as the number of houses that were purchased. In other words, the demand for renting these houses was low. One might anticipate that the Chinese government would stop building new homes given the low demand for rental properties. But this didn't happen since it wanted to keep its GDP growth rate high. Instead, it supported the construction of new homes. China's real estate accounts for about 30% of its economy. How the coronavirus pandemic led to China's real estate crash. China's real estate suffered greatly as a result of the coronavirus pandemic because individuals were more concerned with staying alive than with buying or developing homes. Real estate in China saw a sharp price drop. The Chinese government implemented strict lockdown measures during the coronavirus epidemic, directing resources and financial aid intended for COVID-19 onto corporations rather than the people and households who were in the greatest need of this relief. Since the coronavirus pandemic began in China, more than 35 million people there have been forced to work without pay at home for several months. In contrast, in other nations like the United States, people received a variety of assistance packages and financial aid to help lessen the impact of the coronavirus pandemic in their varied homes. China's financial assistance to its population was minimal or non-existent, and its people had a hard time making ends meet. There was a long line for the limited relief that was available as consumers battled to stay afloat. The vast majority of Chinese people relied on their savings. People realized they couldn't rely on the Chinese government to protect them even after the coronavirus pandemic. As a result of this, they developed the practice of saving rather than consuming. China's inhabitants are not prepared to be caught off guard should another pandemic strike. They limited their purchases to what was required for their bare survival. This resulted in a decline in demand for home purchases, which in turn caused a drop in real estate values, because there was little to no desire for it any longer. The Chinese residents have come to realize that it would be better to have their money saved in the bank, which they could rely on in case of any eventuality, than to purchase homes. But when will the Chinese people stop saving and start spending? One cannot say when this excess saving syndrome will stop in China, as household savings will increase by 2.5 trillion in 2022. Experts believe there will also be excess spending on this saved fund when China's residents realize that things are back to normal. The prices of property sales have continued to drop in more than 100 Chinese cities, despite assurances that things are returning to normal. The biggest developers in the nation are also having a difficult time since they are either filing for bankruptcy or missing payments. Evergrande Group, the second largest real estate developer in China, recently filed for bankruptcy, sending startling signals throughout the world. The company's dramatic fall over the years, both during and after the epidemic, has continued, and it is currently on the edge of collapse. On the other hand, Chinese citizens are aware of the rising number of vacant properties and the falling value of real estate. Like with stocks, many of them would rather wait for housing prices to continue to decline before making a purchase. This type of mindset is not a healthy one for China's economy, as it would lead to deflation in China. How low will China's real estate fall be? No one can say exactly the extent to which China's real estate will crash. The current deflation in China's economy is a bad omen for China and can also extend to other parts of the world. Even though China is known as the world's global factory, this may not be enough to save her economy, as it has been losing its global factory status over the past decade. And the high rate of deflation will eventually make things worse for those nations that rely solely on China for the purchase of their raw materials. As a result of high labor costs and the risk of sanctions, many foreign companies have started moving their investments out of China to other countries, while others no longer wish to continue with future investments. This is certainly not a good thing for China. Isn't it possible for the Chinese government to reduce its interest rate and pump more money into China's economy? The Chinese government tried doing this with a reduction in interest rates, but it still wasn't enough. The People's Bank of China reduced interest rates from 3.55% to 3.45% to help improve China's current position. The interest rate drop was not well received by market observers. They claim that to revive China's faltering economy, the government needed to take bolder actions. The Chinese government, on the other hand, is taking extreme caution not to reduce the interest rate drastically to avoid inflation. According to reports, the Chinese government is planning to invade Taiwan by 2027. Although China hasn't made any public statement confirming this, it's expected that if China carries on with the invasion of Taiwan, she will be isolated from other countries, just like Russia. This is also another issue why people are afraid to spend their resources on purchasing houses just yet. It's expected that if it happens, there will be a shortage of resources, and just like what happened during the pandemic, people will also find it hard to survive. Considering China's real estate crisis, China's invasion of Taiwan does not make any sense, as it would lead to a complete fallout for China's economy. As the second largest economy in the world, China is commonly acknowledged to have significantly greater contributions to international relations and global markets than Russia, hence the need for caution while dealing with the delicate Taiwan problem. Will China be Japan 2.0? Like China, Japan witnessed an economic miracle after World War II. And there was an economic boom in Japan to the extent that it was regarded as the world's second largest economy, with the United States as the first. Different factories were built and Japanese products were being used all over the world. This led to a big boom in the Japanese economy, but this sudden rise in growth didn't last long. Japan's once buoyant economy saw a sharp slowdown beginning in 1991 as a result of the increase in interest rates made to calm the country's real estate market. Japan experienced a severe recession and a drop in GDP. Japan's current GDP, which is estimated at $4.23 trillion US, is still lower than it was in 1995, which was $5.5 trillion. While the United States grew its GDP from $7 trillion in 1995 to $25 trillion in 2022. This would further prove that instead of growing, the Japanese economy has shrunk and remained almost stagnant. 3 decades later, Japanese citizens haven't gained confidence in their government, and just like what is happening in China at the moment, they prefer to save their money in the bank rather than spending it frivolously. Will China's real estate crash be like that of Japan? What lies ahead for China's economy is uncertain, but will China be able to recover from the real estate crisis as successfully as it did when it changed its economy and reduced poverty? Let us know your thoughts in the comments section below. And if you found this video helpful, don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel for more financial insights.